Hey traders, it's Ryan from theprivatebanker.com. So just going to do a quick recap on some of the markets here, on the way I see things panning out currently and the current hypothesis in play on the sort of macro time frame pictures for some commodities, some equities, and also going to start including some potential Forex markets. So just going to start off with crude oil, as I've obviously been actively trading crude oil and I've got a sweet spot for crude. So we'll start off with crude, and I still believe that we're seeing macro balance, and the path of least resistance is still to the downside. I mean, all we're seeing here on the higher time frames is just basically a two-way auction process, and we've clearly established a new range, and we've seen some balance come into the market here. I mean, some things to keep an eye on is we have started to one time frame, but this normally happens. I mean, we one time frame up, then we one time frame down once it's broken. But we do have this sort of poor high of this sort of auction here. But I mean, this year's high is up at 55.71, and we have firm excess here, and we have been currently finding sellers in two-way trade. So until we see a change here, I mean, there's no point trying to buy the highs, sell the lows. I mean, that's where amateur traders get caught. I mean, if you are bullish on oil and you are trading macro time frames and you do believe this is a firm bottom, which is a firm bottom at the moment, but it doesn't mean we're going to go higher, then obviously you want to be long from the lows, and you would have obviously scaled and you'd be positioned for the breakout. But there's no point obviously trying to buy the highest for a breakout. You're better off letting the market break out and then buying pullbacks off of that previous range, looking for rejection. But I'm not going to obviously go into that and teach people how to trade. I'm just giving some high time frame observations. So again, we're currently bearish on crude. Obviously at the moment the price is at the high of the range, so you want to sell the highest, buy the lows until change. So again, we are still looking at macro balance here, and again, like I said, we are looking to the short side here this week until we see a change. I mean, we could see a near-term sort of potential stop run, and we could sort of test this year's high and test that 100 exponential moving average, and then fall back into range and clear out any sort of weak sell stops in the market. But again, until that happens, then we just want to be selling the highs, and we are currently seeing this sort of 4 or 5 day balance coming in here. You can see that volume has been dropping off of this year's distribution bell curve, and until we see some firm volume coming in, and as I said, the demand, then at the moment volume's drying out at the extreme again, and we're potentially looking for this to fall down and at least test this sort of $48 a barrel, and potentially to break this low of this $47 a barrel, and potentially run back down to this 42, 43 area. We just have to see how things play. But again, until we see a breakout and we see increase in volume and a confirmed breakout, then we're still looking to the short side on oil. I mean, fundamentally, in play, obviously, there's still a long-term trend to the sell side, and again, with the fundamentals, I mean, people have been storing crude oil. I mean, they don't want to sell it at these prices, so obviously they've been storing crude oil, trying to create a demand to push prices up. I mean, it's clearly not happening, so there's obviously an oversupply. It's a supply side market at the moment, and there is no sort of real demand, as the market is oversaturated with oil at the moment. So I mean, there's no reason for this fundamentally to see near-term demand and higher prices. So it's just something else to consider as well. But anyway, we'll leave it at that. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? We could see something change, and we could see a breakout to the buy side, and then we could see this new market unfold. But until that happens, like I said, then we have to be stubborn, and we have to sell the highs and buy the lows until we see that change happen, because trying to predict that change is near on impossible. I mean, at the moment, I mean, this is the sort of the monthly bell curves, and we are seeing this rotational value migration. So we've come up and we sort of tested the high of this range, and we've seen a decrease in volume. We've seen sort of fair prices in the sort of $50 to $52 a barrel area for this month, and it does look like we're going to possibly come back in for two-way trade, and the market can see a nice swing down here, and it would also pull the developing value back into fair prices for last month. I mean, at the moment we are sort of holding higher to the buy side. And again, if we do start to see some volume piling in up here, and we do start to see this month's developing bell curve migrating outside of and holding outside, then that could be a possible near-term change. It's just something to keep an eye on. But as I said, for the moment, I'm expecting a rotational developing value, and we are looking for downside price expiration in the current macro term brackets and off the highest we're looking at. So that's just currently what we're seeing. I mean, near term, you can see the sort of two auctions, and fair prices at the moment are clear on the real sort of micro perspective in this area here. So I mean, today we sort of auctioned up to that high volume node from last week, and at the moment we're seeing rejection, and we're looking for prices to return back to equilibrium in this sort of $51 a barrel area near term. Again, we'll just have to see what happens here. I'm not going to try to predict, but just sort of running through what I'm seeing currently through the start of the week. We are inside week at the moment as well, so that's something else to keep an eye on. Looking at equities, so looking at the S&P 500, this market is currently in a sort of buy side auction. We are looking for a new high in the S&P currently. I mean, we've sort of seen this near this bracket and these sort of multiple brackets inside of the longer term bracket, but I mean, there's going to be clearly some buy stops above this 106 area and this 1117, 2117. And last week, I mean, we did post some notes on what we were looking at on the spoons, and we've hit our first sort of target area. I mean, our first target area, I believe, was this 96 area, and then we're looking for 105, 107, I believe, and possibly 110s, and obviously possibly a new higher. But again, until we break the new high and we see price expiration and a buy side interest, then we could potentially see rotational behaviour on the higher time frames. And we are starting to see this bracketing process come into play. We've seen the lower bracket, the higher bracket. We're rejecting the lower bracket. So again, we can just see a two-way trade auction until we finally punch this high and either find an excess seller, or we migrate higher with price expiration, trying to find that next price acceptance area to do business in. But if we quickly look at the monthly developing value skew, you can see that the market can clearly auction higher, and then the developing value can easily migrate to fair prices on last month. And then from there, we either see two-way trade go back into the market, or we see buy-side participation interest, which will obviously we see increasing volume, and then we'll see continued imbalance and price expiration and potential breakout to a new all-time highs on the S&P 500. We'll just have to see currently what's going to happen here. But I mean, this is the current range that we're looking at, and obviously until the stops get hit above there, then this is a potential sell opportunity back down. But I mean, again, the path of least resistance on the higher time frames is clearly showing that we're seeing some buy side interest at the moment, and again, some potential two-way trade is going to come in here. We have to monitor the auction process as we get to these areas. Now going into sort of some of the Forex stuff, I mean, we're looking quite a few markets at the moment in the Forex space. So we've got the Swiss franc, we have got the Aussie dollar. This is all against the US dollar. We've got the Japanese yen, we've got the euro, we've got the Great British pound, and obviously we're going to be looking at the US dollar to see what's happening here. So I mean, currently the US dollar is just in obviously a major breakout, and we've just seen obviously complete buy side participation. We've just seen one time frame in, and obviously the path of least resistance is to the buy side on the dollar. If we zoom in to sort of the weekly macro time frame, you can see that we are seeing two-way trade, and in this current area, and we had this lower balance area down here, and then we finally broke out of that, and then we found this new place to perform two-way trade, and you can see we've seen this attempted directional breakout today, and we're sort of seeing this failure. So I mean, if we do hold these highs, then the expectation is to again see continuation on the balance, and we see a destination trade back to this sort of 1200. So at the moment, depends on whether we hold an inside week, outside week, and whether we punch higher or we see continued two-way trade. Then at the moment we are looking for a near-term balance on the dollar until proven otherwise. I mean, the first things to look at is we are seeing price acceptance on the month lower, and we are seeing some sort of seeing decreasing volume here. So until we sort of see some higher volume or some new distribution bell curves unfold, and again potential value migration outside of last month's value. We are expecting the market to possibly come back into balance here, and then we can see that sort of destination trade play out on the month. We just have to again just monitor what happens. I mean, at the moment there are sort of no real trade setups on all the markets, because we need to wait to see whether the dollar's either going to break out or find acceptance at the highs. If we look at all the other markets, we can see that we're seeing near-term balance. I mean, I'll show you the sort of the higher time frames. It just looks very similar to the dollar. So again, if we hold the lows and we hold an inside week, then we're expecting destination trade back up into this range, and we'll go from there. So again, at the moment, like I said, if we do find balance on the dollar, then we're looking for long, obviously short-term long positions on the correlated markets opposed to the dollar. So I mean, we know that clearly that the path of least resistance is to the sell side on these markets, and if you are in sort of longer term sort of weekly, monthly swing positions, then this isn't the place for you to look to buy it. But obviously for the sort of short term possible swing positions, then we could be looking for potential buy side positions until we see that breakout on the dollar and high prices accepted. And it's pretty much the same across the board. I mean, that was the Great British Pound, we've got the Euro, the Aussie dollar. It's all the similar sort of setups. So just a quick insight into what we're looking at here. But I mean, as you can see here on, say, the Aussie dollar, we got that upper balance, the lower balance, and we're currently at the low of the lower balance. I mean, until we see a breakdown and we see price expiration to the sell side, then we want to be buying this back up to this upper distribution, especially off this distribution bell curve from the auction off this near-term micro high. You can see that the market held previous support, overhead resistance, and we see this new auction come into play, and we found there was obviously increasing volume up here, so there was clear buyers here. The market broke out. All of these buyers that were trying to buy here, they got liquidated, and now we found new fair prices to trade at. So from here, obviously, we're going to auction back, or we're going to see a breakout and then a new area unfold that we're going to do business at. But again, until we see that key context on the dollar unfold, then at the moment it's quite high risk trying to predict what's going to happen here, because again, like the path of least resistance on the dollar is to the buy side on the macro, on the higher time frames, and the path of least resistance is to the sell side on the higher time frames on the opposite correlated markets. So just pretty much going to leave it at that for the moment. I mean, there's not really much else I want to touch base on, but so sort of from a swing trading perspective, that's what I'm going to look at. So I'm not going to go into the intraday stuff for a little while here at the moment. I mean, still am performing some intraday activity, but just trying to again lean on these higher time frame positions and get these nice sort of swing trades going. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. I'll do an update as we see some things develop here for the rest of the week possibly. Hope you all have a great week. If you do have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask, and I'll catch you all soon. Take care and goodbye.